Last time on the breakdown, we had one of the most questionable plays that we have ever seen, and it came from the eventual winner of the hand, Marello, who was playing a heads-up cash game with Tom Dwan.
Right, they were 200 blinds deep. It was for a lot of money. They had over $200,000 in front of each of them. Tom Dwan 3-bet pre out of position because they're heads up. Went bet, bet, bet on an 8-high board with king, queen. Marello somehow, some way had king 9, decided to call the flop with nothing, call the turn with nothing, go all in on the river, giving Dwan almost 8-1 to call, but Dwan having king, queen high had to fold.
It was a maniacal, crazy play from Marello, and I don't understand what happened.
But let's hear what you guys had to say about it, because we actually asked for people's opinions and theories.
We needed some theories, because we couldn't come up with enough that made it make sense.
I mean, we had a few theories, but they weren't particularly flattering. All right, let's hear what we have to say. Slurpees387 says, why isn't Dwan just shoving on the river? If he's going to make a 3/4 pot bet, that is 2/3 of Marcello's stack, why not put in the bet for Marcello's stack and not allow him the chance to come over the top? Especially if he's going to fold to that shove as fast as he did. Whether Dwan bets the 97K or the 150K, he knows he loses if he gets called. So why not increase the chances of Marello folding, as well as remove the option of being forced to fold himself if Marello shoves over the top?
Tom Dwan certainly wished he did that after the hand was over. In a results-oriented way, this definitely would have worked out a lot better. However, Tom Dwan does not think there's a chance in the world that Marello is going to bluff in this spot once Dwan bets 97K and only leaves Marello 48K more behind if he moves in. It seems impossible that Marello would bluff. We really never see stuff like this.
Right, and there's very little Marello can really have when he calls the turn. Dwan's betting really big on both flop and turn. I guess he could sometimes have overs and a flush draw and turn that into a bluff. It's the only bluff I can even think of that makes sense.
Yes, but you would think he would never be able to get a bluff through. Even if Dwan thinks he's going to lose when he calls with aces or whatever hand he might have for value, it doesn't mean he's going to fold. He's getting 8-1.
Right. The very point that you're making, we actually disagree with and think it's the opposite. Dwan's betting 97K, so he doesn't have to bet 145K. He thinks it's the same thing, and usually it is, but not this time.
No, I think actually in terms of expected value, this is a better play than moving in, because it's so rarely going to happen that Marello is going to bluff. Usually Dwan just saves the 48K because Marello actually had something really, really big. Just so happens this time Marello went insane bananas.
And somehow it worked. All right. Moving on, X-Trader.
Frequent commenter.
Yep, indeed. He's been here before. He's back again. What is Dwan attempting to take Marello off of on this third barrel? It seems like Marello has a kind of a hand that is not folding, especially on this river card.
Okay, so that makes some sense. The board was 3, 4,
8.
8.
It was 8, 6, 3, 4, 8.
Right.
2 hearts on the flop.
Okay, so it would make a lot of sense for Marello to have 4, 5 here.
Yeah.
Because he would have flopped an open ender, turned the pair with the open ender. Same thing with pocket 5s.
Yep.
Pocket 6s is a pair and a gut shot.
Yep.
6, 7 is a pair and a gut shot.
Yep.
So all of those hands are hands that Dwan could be targeting.
Also the nut flush draw.
Yeah.
Hand we can almost certainly get to fold if we do this. Also hands that are like small one pair hands like ace 3. Stuff like that,
stuff like that.
That didn't have other equity, but just as heroing Tom.
Right.
They might decide to give up a lot on the river because Tom has clearly polarized himself.
Right. Although maybe X-Trader's point is that he thinks Marcello's not going to fold those hands.
Right.
I think Dwan is targeting those hands. Maybe Marello isn't going to fold those hands. Maybe that is the case, but I believe Dwan thinks that he is.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. All right, finally, Brad Stolerly says, based on the fact that Marello says he had decided to buy the turn, that he was going to snap jam the river, it seems like a pure ego play where he just decided he was going to win the hand no matter what. That's a common thing with fish in live games. He also demonstrates his ignorance with his very last comment. You cannot call even if it's merely an additional $20,000.
I can agree with a lot of this, actually. I mean, this is a good theory as to what Marcello's thought process is. It doesn't mean that it's a good thought process, but it is a good theory that Marello just decided before the river that he was going to move in on the river. That makes sense considering that he didn't even see how much Dwan bet before he moved in. That seems like kind of an important thing to know before you move in.
No question. If you're going to make this play, doesn't it make so much more sense just to move in on the turn when you have legit fold equity instead of giving your opponent 8-1, who has to call with really a wide variety of hands because you just figure like, well, I just don't have to be right very often, right?
Yeah, it does seem like ego came into it. Also, I do agree a little bit with this ignorance thing that Marello thinks that Dwan can't call even if it's 20,000 more. Can't call with what? Marello has really no information about Dwan's hand. Dwan just 3-bet and went bet, bet, bet. Marello never put him to the test. How could he know?
I would love it if Marello had some blockers to significant hands, blockers to straights, things like that. He has nothing like that. This doesn't really make any sense. It happened to work out this time, but I think we know ultimately of these two players who's the long-term long-term winner and who isn't.
Right, and I mean, Marcello is obviously a fun guy to watch.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm glad he makes plays like this. We really appreciate all of your theories. We don't think it's been solved.